a traveling man and made a lot of stops all over the world.
Legendary singer Ricky Nelson, known for his golden voice, left a complicated legacy when he tragically passed away. Now, decades later, fans are still reeling from the impact of his passing. But what happened to Ricky's abandoned house and his 4 children? And how much was his net worth when he passed? Join us as we uncover the intriguing details. Abandoned home. Ricky Nelson's life was filled with music, love, and family, and so was his home. Tucked away in the quiet hills of Hollywood, his house was like a secret hideaway. Surrounded by tall trees and calm streets, it wasn't big or flashy, but it was full of charm. The house felt warm and welcoming, with big windows that let the sunlight in and wooden floors that gently creaked with each step. During the day, the rooms were bright and peaceful. At night, soft music would float through the air like a lullaby. This wasn't just a house, it was Ricky's special place. He wrote songs there, laughed with his children, and made sweet memories. The living room often echoed with the gentle sound of a guitar. The kitchen smelled of good food and family dinners. Outside, the garden bloomed with colorful flowers and fruit trees. Every corner of the home held a story of birthday parties, holiday mornings, and quiet evenings looking at the stars. But after Ricky passed away, the house changed. The music stopped. The laughter was gone. The garden grew wild, and dust began to cover the furniture. The once bright paint faded, and tiny cracks started to show in the walls. Even though a fire once came close, the house stayed standing. Still, it grew older, quiet, and alone, like it was waiting for Ricky to come home. Today, the house sits in silence, but for those who remember, it still feels full of love. It holds Ricky's spirit, the songs, the kindness, and the joy he shared with the world. Even in its quiet state, the house is more than wood and brick. It's a gentle, lasting memory of a man who sang from the heart. After Ricky passed, what happened to his 4 children? How did they cope and build their careers? Let's dive into it. Carrying the torch, Rick Nelson's children. Rick Nelson gave the world more than just beautiful music. He passed down a love for the arts to his children, and each of them found their way to carry the Nelson name forward, making sure their father's spirit never fades. His oldest daughter, Tracy Nelson, stepped into the spotlight at a young age. She starred in the movie Yours, Mine, and Ours in 1968, alongside big names like Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda. That moment lit a spark in her heart. Tracy didn't just act, she danced too. She trained in ballet for 17 years and even danced in a company while still in elementary school. Tracy studied acting with famous teachers like Kim Stanley and Nina Foch, and even performed at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland. In the 1980s, she became a fan favorite as Jennifer Donuccio in the hit show Square Pegs. Then came her unforgettable role in Down and Out in Beverly Hills, where she played a troubled teen with a powerful story. She kept shining on TV with roles in The Father Dowling Mysteries, Glitter, and The Man from Snowy River. You might have even seen her in Family Ties, Seinfeld, or The Nanny. Tracy also lit up the stage as Rizzo in the 1995 Broadway version of Grease, and starred in over 20 made-for-TV movies. Her journey shows just how much heart and strength she brings to everything she does. Rick's twin sons, Matthew and Gunnar Nelson, followed their dad into the world of music. They formed the band Nelson and hit it big in the early 90s with their debut album, After the Rain. Their hit song, Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection, topped the charts, and their dreamy looks and emotional lyrics made fans swoon. But when music started shifting to grunge and alternative rock, the spotlight moved away. Still, they did not give up. In 1995, they left their big record label and created their own, Stone Canyon Records. They began performing as Ricky Nelson Remembered, honoring their father with every note. Their mix of their music and Rick's classic songs has touched fans old and new. The Nelsons even earned a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the only family with 3 generations of no-one hitmakers, Ozzie and Harriet, Rick Nelson, and now Matthew and Gunnar. The youngest, Sam Hilliard Nelson, may be quieter, but the music still lives in him. While he stays mostly out of the public eye, he sometimes joins his brothers on stage, showing his love for music and his deep bond with the family. Through Tracy, Matthew, Gunnar, and Sam, his voice still echoes, on stage, on screen, and in every melody they share. The Nelson name continues to shine, reminding us all that love, music, and family never truly fade. What tragic events led to the loss of the legendary singer Ricky? Where was he finally laid to rest? Let's find out. The tragic final flight. December 30th, 1985 was meant to be a happy evening. Ricky Nelson, the soft-spoken singer who grew up on television and later won hearts with his music, was flying to Dallas, Texas. He had a concert planned for New Year's Eve. Fans were excited to see him again. Ricky boarded a small plane with his fiancée, Helen Blair, and his bandmates. Everyone on board was looking forward to sharing music and joy. But something very sad happened instead. As the plane flew over DeKalb, Texas, a fire suddenly broke out in the cabin. Smoke quickly filled the air, and it became hard to breathe. The two pilots tried their best to stay calm and land the plane safely. They escaped through the windows after the plane came down in a field, but Ricky, Helen, and 5 others couldn't get out. The fire moved too fast. All 7 lives were lost that night. Ricky was only 45 years old. People everywhere were heartbroken. Ricky had been part of their lives for so long. First on TV, then through his songs. His music was soft and full of feeling, just like him. When the news spread, fans cried and shared their favorite memories. Later, investigators said a broken heater in the back of the plane caused the fire. It had caused problems before, but no one thought it would lead to something so painful. The loss of Helen Blair made the sadness even deeper. She was not just Ricky's fiancée, but his best friend. Her family wanted her to be buried beside him, but Ricky's family said no. At his funeral, her name wasn't spoken. Her parents were heartbroken and felt left out. They tried to seek fairness through a lawsuit, but they didn't receive much. Ricky's funeral was quiet and full of love. Family, friends, and fans came to Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills. His children stood together, holding each other. The air was filled with soft music, the kind that Ricky used to sing. People told stories, wiped away tears, and laid flowers on his grave. It was more than a goodbye. It was a gentle thank you for all the songs, the kindness, and the warmth he had given. What happened to Ricky Nelson's wealth after he passed? What was his net worth? Let's look at that. A star's worth beyond money. Ricky Nelson lived a life full of bright lights, music, and love from fans all over the world. As his career took off, so did his earnings. By the time he was just 13, Ricky was already making over $100,000 a year. At 16, he had saved around $500,000, a huge amount for someone so young. From music sales to concert tours and television, Ricky earned millions throughout his life. But life wasn't always smooth. Behind the smiles and stage lights, Ricky faced real challenges. A painful divorce, financial missteps, and personal struggles slowly chipped away at his wealth. By the time he passed in 1985, his estate was in debt, and what had once been a fortune had sadly faded. Still, his story didn't end with numbers. Over time, the love for his music brought value back to his name. His music, his gentle smile, and his legacy lives on. Ricky's true worth lies not in what he earned, but in the joy he gave. And that kind of wealth, the kind that warms hearts and brings back sweet memories, never fades. Now let's go back and explore his life from its beginnings. How did he get to this point in fame? What prompted this move to this stardom? Let's find out. Ricky Nelson, growing up. Ricky Nelson was born on May 8, 1940, in Teaneck, New Jersey, into a family already famous in the entertainment world. His parents, Ozzie and Harriet Nelson, were well known in show business. Ozzie led his orchestra, and Harriet sang with the band. Ricky's older brother, David, was already starting to act, which made the Nelson family a familiar name to many. Ricky's early life was a mix of fame and family. While Ozzy traveled for his music, Harriet stayed in New Jersey taking care of the boys. Eventually, the family moved to California when Ozzy and Harriet got the chance to appear on a radio show. But little Ricky stayed behind in New Jersey for a while, cared for by his grandmother. From a young age, Ricky had to cope with severe asthma, making him feel different from other kids. But despite his health struggles, Ricky had a quiet charm that made him special. He was shy and kept to himself, yet people couldn't help but be drawn to his gentle, thoughtful nature. In 1944, when a new opportunity came for Ozzy and Harriet, they started their radio show called The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet. It quickly became a hit, and in 1949, Ricky and David began playing themselves on the show. Ricky made his first official appearance on the show when he was just 8 years old, and from that moment, he was part of the spotlight. As the show grew, so did Ricky's fame. In 1952, the family took their act to television with a movie, Here Come the Nelsons, and the response was so positive that Ozzy decided to turn their family story into a TV show. The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet became a household name, running for over 14 years and making Ricky a star. He became a favorite with viewers, especially after his famous line, "I don't mess around, boy," which quickly caught on with kids across the country. Even as his fame grew, Ricky tried to live a normal life. He went to regular schools, played sports, and even tried his hand at a trapeze act with his brother David. But like many young stars, he found it hard to balance the pressures of fame with being just a regular kid. He admitted he didn't enjoy school much, mostly because he hated the smell of pencils and didn't like early mornings. Despite his success, Ricky's parents were careful with his money. They set up trust funds for him and gave him only a $50 allowance when he turned 18. So, while it seemed like Ricky had everything, he sometimes had to get creative to make ends meet, like returning empty soda bottles to get enough change for a movie ticket. Ricky's early years were filled with both challenges and charm. He lived a double life, one as a regular teenager and the other as a rising star. But no matter what, Ricky's quiet, sweet nature stayed with him, and it's what made him unforgettable to everyone who knew him. How Ricky Nelson took over music and television. Ricky Nelson's rise to fame was as unexpected as it was fast. He never dreamed of becoming a singer. It all started when a girlfriend, a huge Elvis Presley fan, joked that Ricky was recording music too, even though he wasn't. But after making that comment, something sparked inside him. With support from his father, Ozzy Nelson, a small joke turned into a serious career in music. In 1957, Ricky got his first record deal with Verve Records. His first single caught some attention, but unfortunately, the deal didn't last long due to disagreements over money. Unfazed, Ozzy stepped in and secured a much better contract with Imperial Records. This time, Ricky had something rare for a young artist: control over his music. He got to pick his songs, approve album covers, and make important decisions that many older musicians did not even get. This was a huge advantage for Ricky. Ricky's first single with Imperial, Bebop Baby, was a massive hit. It sold over 1 million copies and hit number 3 on the charts, establishing Ricky as a star. His debut album, simply called Ricky, quickly rose to number 1 by the end of 1957. As Ricky's fame grew, he became the main star on The Adventures of Ozzy and Harriet. The show started featuring Ricky's new songs in episodes, turning a family sitcom into a weekly musical event. This gave him an edge over other teen idols by exposing him directly to viewers each week. But Ricky wasn't fully satisfied. He noticed a gap between his energy and the older musicians he worked with in the studio. They did not care much for rock and roll and did not take him seriously. So, after a summer tour in 1957, Ricky decided to form his band. He brought together young musicians who shared his passion, including guitarist James Burton. Their first track, Believe What You Say, marked the start of a new chapter for Ricky. In 1958, Ricky recorded the song Poor Little Fool, written by 17-year-old Sharon Sheeley. Ricky wasn't sure about releasing it as a single, worried it would hurt his album sales. But his record label went ahead, and to his surprise, it became a huge hit. Poor Little Fool made history as the first ever #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, selling over 2 million copies. By the late 1950s, Ricky was outshining even Elvis Presley on the charts. He had 12 hits in 1958 and 1959, while Elvis had 11. Over the next few years, Ricky scored 30 top 40 hits, cementing his place as one of the biggest stars of the era. Television played a huge part in his success. Ricky was the first teen idol to use TV regularly to promote his music. His father, Ozzie, even helped create some of the first music videos by compiling Ricky's TV performances into clips. When Ricky turned 21, he made a big change by adopting the name Rick Nelson. This wasn't just a name change, it marked his transition into adulthood and a more serious phase in his career. Around this time, he signed a contract with Decca Records, which allowed him to explore new musical directions. Although Rick's popularity began to fade in the 1960s, he kept working, recording, and touring. He even appeared on Saturday Night Live in 1979, poking fun at his image in a sketch about being stuck in his classic sitcom role. Ricky did more than just music. He was also an actor. What triggered this move in careers? How well did he do in the movie industry? Let's dive into it. Rick Nelson's journey as an actor. Rick Nelson wasn't just a music star, he was also a natural actor, and his journey on screen began at a very young age. In 1952, Rick made his movie debut in Here Come the Nelsons, a sweet and funny film that featured his real family. Fans got to see their true connection, and people quickly fell in love with their charm. Just a year later, Rick took on a small but special role in The Story of Three Loves, playing a younger version of a character in a film directed by the famous Vincente Minnelli. Though music became his main focus, Rick never left acting behind. His rising fame as a teen idol helped him land bigger roles. One of his most famous was in the 1959 Western Rio Bravo. He played a young and brave gunslinger, starring alongside movie legends John Wayne and Dean Martin. The film was a big hit, and many young fans watched just to see Rick. His cool and calm style added something fresh to the movie and helped bring in a whole new audience. Rick kept acting through the 1960s and 1970s. In 1960, he starred with Jack Lemmon in the fun wartime comedy The Wackiest Ship in the Army. The movie was so popular that it later became a TV show, though Rick didn't return for the series. He also popped up in well-known shows like General Electric Theater and took the lead in Love and Kisses, a light-hearted romantic comedy written and directed by his father, Ozzie Nelson. Over the years, Rick kept surprising fans with appearances on TV. He played Jesse James in the show Hondo and starred in The Over the Hill Gang in 1969. He also appeared in other popular shows like McCloud, The Streets of San Francisco, Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law, Petrocelli, The Love Boat, and Tales of the Unexpected. One special moment came in the Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries, where he played a rock star named Tony Eagle. Not only did he act, but he also sang some of his greatest hits, bringing his two talents together in one unforgettable episode. Even into the 1980s, Rick's love for acting never faded. He took roles in TV movies like 3 on a Date and High School USA in 1983. Road to Romance. Rick Nelson wasn't just a talented singer and actor. He was also a man who loved deeply and lived with his heart on his sleeve. His personal life was full of sweet beginnings, tough times, and lasting love. In 1963, Rick married Kristen Harmon. Their love story felt like something out of a movie. Kristen came from a famous family too. Her father was football star Tom Harmon, and her mother was actress Elise Knox. Rick and Kristen had grown up in the spotlight, and their families were already close. It seemed like they were meant to be. Their romance blossomed in the early 60s. When Kristen became pregnant, they decided to get married. Rick was 23 and Kristen was just 17. He even converted to Catholicism to honor her family's wishes and promised to raise their children in that faith. Soon after, Kristen joined Rick on the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, blending their real life with their TV life. Together, they had 4 beautiful children: Tracy, their daughter, twin boys Gunnar and Matthew, and their youngest, Sam. To fans, they looked like the perfect family, young, famous, and full of love. But behind the smiles and cameras, things were not so perfect. By the mid-1970s, the pressure of fame, parenting, and career dreams started pulling them apart. Rick was often on the road, performing to keep up their lifestyle. Kristen, on the other hand, wished he'd slow down and focus more on acting and family life. Their dreams no longer matched, and the distance between them grew. In 1977, Kristen filed for divorce. She asked for alimony, custody of their children, and a share of what they had built together. They tried to work things out, but it didn't last. Kristen struggled with alcoholism, which made parenting harder, and much of the child care was left to nannies and helpers. Rick, juggling music, touring, and personal stress, was emotionally stretched thin. The divorce took years to finalize and cost Rick more than $1 million. By 1982, after nearly 2 decades together, it was officially over. The long battle left Rick heartbroken and tired, but not without hope. That hope came in the form of Helen Blair. In 1980, while Rick was performing in Las Vegas, he met Helen, a part-time model who also worked with animals. She wasn't just beautiful, she was kind, calm, and steady. Helen became a key part of Rick's life. She helped him plan his schedule, traveled with him, and even ran his fan club. She brought him peace when he needed it the most. By 1982, Helen had moved in with Rick. Though they never married, she was the only woman he dated after his divorce. Some people around Rick did not fully trust Helen or thought she was too involved in his life, but Rick did not care. He saw her heart and kept her close. Rick thought about marrying Helen, but in the end, he chose not to. Still, she stood by him through all the highs and lows, offering love, loyalty, and quiet support. In the middle of a world that often felt loud and chaotic, Helen was his calm. Rick Nelson's personal life was full of joy, heartache, and healing. He loved deeply, struggled silently, and always tried to do the best for his family. And even when life got hard, he never gave up on love. Through the course of marriage, he changed in some areas of life. What were they? How did it affect his relationship? Let's look at it. Finding his sound again. When Rick Nelson turned 21 on May 8, 1961, he made a quiet but powerful change. He dropped the Y from his name, going from Ricky to Rick. It was a small switch, but it meant a lot to him. He wanted people to see him as a grown-up artist, not just the teenage heartthrob from the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. But for many fans, he would always be Ricky, the kind, soft-spoken boy they had grown up watching on TV. Still, Rick was ready to grow. He did not just want to sing old hits, he wanted to try new things. In 1963, he signed a huge 20-year deal with Decca Records, full of hope for a fresh start. One of his early songs with the label, For You, did really well. It hit number 6 on the charts. But just as he started to find his rhythm again, the music world changed. The Beatles came along, and suddenly, British bands were taking over the charts. American artists like Rick were pushed to the side. His songs weren't making waves like before, and many thought his best days were behind him. But Rick did not give up. Instead of chasing trends, he followed his heart. He started blending his rock and roll roots with country music. This new sound was honest, mellow, and full of meaning. It was the beginning of what we now call country rock. Rick wasn't trying to be someone he wasn't, he was just being real. By the late 1960s, Rick had formed the Stone Canyon Band. It included amazing musicians like Randy Meisner, who would later help start the Eagles, and steel guitarist Tom Brumley. With this group, Rick finally had the space to make the kind of music he truly loved. In 1970, he returned to the charts with a beautiful cover of Bob Dylan's She Belongs to Me. It was his first top 40 hit in years and felt like a breath of fresh air. But the real turning point came in 1972. Rick was invited to play an oldies concert at Madison Square Garden. He was excited. He played both his old hits and some of his new music. But during the show, some people in the crowd booed. No one's quite sure why. Maybe they just wanted to hear the old songs, not the new ones. But whatever the reason, it hurt Rick deeply. He felt like the audience did not accept the new version of him. Instead of letting the pain win, Rick turned it into something beautiful. He wrote a song called Garden Party, sharing how it felt to be rejected just for being himself. The lyrics were honest and heartfelt. To everyone's surprise, the song became a huge hit. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went straight to number 1 on the Adult Contemporary chart. It even earned a gold certification. The Garden Party told the world, "This is who I am now, and that's okay." Even though the rest of the Garden Party album did not sell as well, the title track helped Rick connect with new fans and reminded old ones why they loved him in the first place. Still, Rick felt pressure to return to the image that made him famous. So, for a while, he went back to being Ricky Nelson. He launched a comeback tour and released a greatest hits album called Ricky Nelson, All My Best. He smiled, sang his classic songs, and gave fans the nostalgia they craved. But deep inside, Rick was still moving forward. He kept writing new music. He kept exploring. He didn't stop dreaming. Through the ups and downs, he stayed true to his gentle, honest self. Gone too soon, but never forgotten. Even though Rick Nelson left the world many years ago, the love people feel for him has never faded. His soft voice, gentle smile, and heartfelt songs still bring comfort to those who remember him. Rick was more than just a singer. He was a part of people's lives. From the 1950s through the 1980s, he made his way into hearts as both a musician and a TV star, and his sweet spirit still lingers today. Rick grew up in the public eye on the popular show The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Viewers watched him grow from a shy little boy into a charming young man. When he began to sing on the show, it felt so natural, like it was always meant to be. His voice was smooth and calm, and his songs touched people deeply. Hits like Hello Mary Lou and Travelin' Man became favorites all over the country. As the music world changed, Rick didn't try to follow every trend. Instead, he followed his heart. He mixed country and rock into a new sound that was honest and true. Real music lovers respected him even more. He didn't chase the spotlight. He created something beautiful and lasting. Even after his passing, Rick continued to be honored. In 1987, he was added to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, showing the world that he was truly one of the greats. In 1996, he was named one of TV's greatest stars, proving how much he meant to families everywhere. Rick also had a kind and giving heart. He helped good causes, sang at charity shows, and believed music could lift people's spirits. He used his talent to make others feel better, not just to be famous. His children carry on his legacy with love. His daughter Tracy became a gifted actress. His twin sons, Matthew and Gunnar, found success in music and proudly sang their dad's songs with their band, Nelson. His youngest son, Sam, also stayed close to the music. Rick's life was full of love, music, and quiet strength. He stayed true to himself through all the highs and lows. Though he left too soon, the joy he gave will never fade. His songs still play. His smile is still remembered. And in the hearts of those who loved him, Rick Nelson is still here, still singing, still shining, still loved. Outro. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.